In 2007, the FDA received 17,000 complaints in a single month. Minimum 8,500 pets confirmed dead. And the agency acknowledged the real number was higher because no mandatory reporting system for pet deaths existed. The cause was melamine, an industrial plastic chemical, deliberately added to pet food ingredients to fake a higher protein reading on a lab test. It passed every quality check every brand had in place. That was 2007. The ingredient disclosure rules have not changed since. The brands selling you dog food today operate under the same label requirements that were in place when those 8,500 animals died. 6 of them are in this video. 3 you need to stop buying. 3 are worth knowing about. 1. Purina Beneful. The product is called Beneful. The name was constructed to imply benefit, fullness, and health. It does not imply any of those things under the federal definition of pet food labeling, where the brand name carries no nutritional obligation whatsoever. In February 2015, a class action complaint filed in the Northern District of California. Case number 3:15-CV-00569-EMC named propylene glycol as a compound of concern in Beneful Original Dry Dog Food. Propylene glycol is a synthetic organic compound used as a humectant, a moisture retention agent that the FDA permits in dog food at concentrations up to a certain threshold. It is not permitted in cat food. The same compound appears in lower-grade antifreeze formulations. The lawsuit alleged that dogs fed Beneful exclusively developed kidney disease, liver failure, internal bleeding, and seizures at a rate inconsistent with normal background rates for those conditions. Nestlé Purina denied all allegations. The case was voluntarily dismissed in 2016 after a settlement whose financial terms were sealed. The dismissal and the sealed settlement mean there is no judicial finding of liability. There is also no published Purina data demonstrating that the compound concentration in Beneful across its full production history was consistently within the FDA's safety threshold. The FDA does not require a manufacturer to publish that data. It requires only that the formula submitted for registration contain concentrations within the permitted range at the time of submission. Look at the ingredient panel for Beneful Original. Ground yellow corn is the first ingredient. Chicken byproduct meal is the second. Under AAFCO's published definition, chicken byproduct meal is a rendered product of slaughterhouse waste: necks, feet, undeveloped eggs, intestines, and feathers that have been dried and ground. The definition specifically excludes feathers except in unavoidable trace amounts, but it does not exclude intestinal contents. The visual on the Beneful package does not resemble this. The ingredient list does. Corn and corn gluten meal, which appears later in the same formula, function as cheap calorie density and cheap protein inflation. The guaranteed analysis on the back of the bag shows a crude protein percentage. That number counts plant-sourced protein from corn gluten meal in the same column as animal-sourced protein from chicken byproduct meal. They are not the same amino acid profile. A dog's system does not process them identically. The guaranteed analysis does not tell you how much of that protein number came from corn. Beneful is the best-selling dry dog food in the United States. That fact and the fact about the ingredient list coexist without contradiction. Volume of sales does not verify what is in the bag. 2. Pedigree, Mars Pet Care. Mars Pet Care is the largest pet food company on Earth. Its portfolio includes Pedigree, Royal Canin, Iams, Eukanuba, Whiskas, Caesar, Nutro, and Sheba. A consumer who avoids Pedigree and picks IAMS from the same shelf is, in most cases, handing money to the same entity. That corporate consolidation is not disclosed on the Pedigree label, the IAMS label, or on the shelf tag between them. Pedigree Adult Complete Nutrition. Dry dog food lists ground whole corn as its first ingredient. The second ingredient is meat and bone meal, the same rendering output described in the opening of this video. Under AAFCO's ingredient definitions, meat and bone meal carries no species requirement. The animal whose tissue contributed to that powder is not identified. It is not required to be identified. The consumer selecting pedigree because they associate the name with meat is selecting a product whose primary protein source is rendered tissue from an unnamed animal in an unspecified combination with bone. In 2014, Pedigree issued a voluntary recall of 17-pound bags of Pedigree Adult Complete Nutrition, dry dog food manufactured at its Jalisco, Mexico facility after elevated aflatoxin. B1 levels were detected in routine sampling. Aflatoxin is a mycotoxin, a toxic compound produced by Aspergillus mold growing on corn and other grain crops. In dogs, sustained aflatoxin exposure causes hepatocellular necrosis, liver cell death. It does not cause acute symptoms in the early stages of exposure. A dog eating from a contaminated lot for several weeks may present with lethargy and reduced appetite before liver values on a blood panel reveal the actual mechanism. The first ingredient in Pedigree is corn. Aflatoxin accumulates in corn. The 2014 recall was resolved without documented long-term follow-up data on the dogs that consumed the affected lots before the recall notice reached households. The FDA classified it as Class 2, remote probability of adverse health consequences under normal conditions. Normal conditions does not mean a dog that ate from the bag for 2 months before the recall was announced. Mars reported global pet care revenue exceeding $18 billion in 2022. The Pedigree formula has not been substantively changed to address the primary ingredient position of corn or the absence of species disclosure on the protein source. The package still shows a German Shepherd at full gallop. 3. Kibbles and Bits, J.M. Smucker. In 2015, J.M. Smucker, a company whose primary commercial identity is fruit preserves, coffee, and peanut butter, purchased Big Heart pet brands for $5.8 billion. The acquisition transferred ownership of Kibbles and Bits, Meow Mix, Milk-Bone, Natural Balance, and 11 other pet food brands to a company with no prior history in animal nutrition. Smucker did not announce changes to any formula, any sourcing standard, or any manufacturing process as part of the acquisition. They announced synergies with their existing distribution infrastructure. The Kibbles and Bits original savory beef and chicken flavors formula begins with corn, soybean meal, and beef and bone meal. The product name contains the words beef and chicken. Under AAFCO's flavor naming rules, a product named for a flavor, as opposed to a product named for an ingredient, is required only to have a detectable sensory presence of that flavor, or a detectable level of a flavor compound derived from the named animal. It is not required to contain a nutritionally meaningful amount of beef or chicken. The corn and soy deliver the calorie density. The beef and chicken deliver the name on the front of the bag. Between April 2018 and January 2019, J.M. Smucker conducted a series of overlapping voluntary recalls covering Kibbles and Bits and several other brands in its portfolio for elevated aflatoxin levels. The January 2019 recall was the largest in scope. 31 product SKUs, 23 states, and shared manufacturing with the Olroy private label line, meaning a bag of Kibbles and Bits purchased in October 2018 and a bag of Walmart's store brand purchased the same week may have come off the same production line in the same facility during the same contamination window. The FDA's cumulative pet food recall database entry for J.M. Smucker spans multiple product lines and multiple years. Smucker's pet food division reported net sales of approximately $2.6 billion in fiscal year 2023. The kibbles and bits formula has not been reformulated to address the first position corn that created the aflatoxin exposure pathway. The bags still show photographs of meat. The 3 that cleared a different standard. 4. Open Farm. Open Farm launched in 2014 with a single structural commitment that separates it from every brand covered above. Every ingredient in every product is traceable to a named source, and that traceability is verifiable by the consumer in real time. On every Open Farm bag, there is a lot code. That code corresponds to a published entry on the company's website that names the specific farm, the certification body, and the welfare standard under which the animals in that batch were raised. This is not a general statement about sourcing philosophy. It is a functioning lookup system. A consumer who buys a bag of Open Farm homestead turkey and chicken recipe enters the code and receives the name of the farm is holding accountability in their hands in a form that no brand in the previous 3 entries makes available under any circumstances. The meat ingredients in Open Farm products are sourced exclusively from farms holding certified humane or global animal partnership certification. Third-party audited welfare standards, not self-assessed. The protein in the bag is not meat and bone meal. It is deboned turkey from a named source. The carbohydrate sources are disclosed and traceable. Open Farm publishes an annual impact report with farm-level environmental and welfare data. The price is higher. It is higher because the audit system, the name sourcing, and the certification requirements cost money to maintain. That premium is the direct financial cost of the transparency that every other brand on this list declines to offer. A consumer who cannot absorb that cost is not making a negligent choice. They are operating inside a market where the affordable options were designed to meet the regulatory floor, not to exceed it. 5. The Farmer's Dog. The Farmer's Dog produces pet food in USDA-inspected facilities that operate under human food standards. Human grade has a specific regulatory meaning when applied to pet food. Not only must the ingredients meet USDA standards for human consumption, but every step of handling, production, and storage must also comply. A facility that processes human-grade pet food cannot legally receive or handle ingredients that would be rejected by the USDA for human food use. The rendering output described at the beginning of this video, the condemned tissue, the bone fragments, the blood material, cannot enter that facility. The Farmer's Dog recipes are formulated by board-certified veterinary nutritionists, specialists who hold a DVM degree plus a completed residency and a past examination recognized by the American College of Veterinary Nutrition. The ACVN credential is not a marketing claim. It is a defined qualification with a published list of diplomas. A consumer can verify that the nutritionist whose name is on the formulation holds the credential by looking them up in the ACVN directory. The product arrives refrigerated and is portioned per dog based on the animal's weight, breed, and activity level data collected at enrollment. The logistical constraint is real. It requires freezer space and a consistent subscription. For a household without one or both of those, the product is not accessible in the same way a bag on a grocery shelf is. The nutritional difference between this product and a bag of kibbles and bits is the difference between a meal made in a human food facility from human-grade ingredients and a meal made from rendered tissue whose species is not disclosed. That comparison is not a marketing claim. It is a description of the 2 regulatory categories these products occupy. 6. Purina Pro Plan Veterinary Diets. The same company that makes Beneful also makes this product. That fact is worth sitting with before deciding what it means. Purina Pro Plan. Veterinary diets requires a veterinarian's authorization to purchase. It is not a grocery store product. The formulas are developed with board-certified veterinary nutritionists and are supported by published, peer-reviewed clinical research available in journals, including the Journal of Veterinary Internal Medicine and the American Journal of Veterinary Research. The clinical claims on specific pro-plan veterinary diets, kidney support, urinary health, gastrointestinal disease management, hepatic support, are supported by documented clinical trials. They are not front-of-package photography and a tagline. The reason Nestlé Purina invests in that research infrastructure is not altruism. Prescription-tier pet food commands a price premium significant enough to fund a research program. The commercial incentive to produce an effective product in the prescription tier is stronger than the commercial incentive in the grocery tier, where the floor is whatever Walmart charges for Ol Roy and every brand above it is competing to stay just premium enough to justify the price difference. In the prescription tier, the veterinarian recommends or declines to recommend. The research determines whether the recommendation is made. This product is not for every dog. A renal support formula fed to a healthy dog without a diagnosed kidney condition is not beneficial and may create imbalances. The recommendation is specific. If your dog has a diagnosed condition for which a pro-plan veterinary diet exists, and your veterinarian has reviewed it, this product has the research behind it that the other products on this list do not. That is the distinction. The parent company is the same. The product is not. The AAFCO nutritional minimums that govern every product covered in the first half of this video were designed to prevent deficiency disease. They were not designed to optimize canine health over a 12-year lifespan. A dog eating a diet that meets AAFCO minimums will not develop scurvy. What accumulates over years of eating rendered unnamed species protein, mycotoxin exposed grain, and humectant compounds at legal but unmonitored concentrations does not have a name on the guaranteed analysis panel. It shows up in blood work. It shows up in the rate at which a dog's liver processes what it is fed every day for a decade. The 2007 melamine crisis killed a confirmed minimum of 8,500 pets. The FDA's response produced the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011, which added hazard analysis requirements. It did not change what must be on the label. Meat and bone meal still does not require a species. Chicken flavor still does not require chicken. The floor that was there before 2007 is the floor that is there now. And the brands that operated at that floor in 2007 are, for the most part, operating at that floor in 2024. 3 ingredient lists in this video read deboned, named animal, named whole food carbohydrate, salt, vitamins, minerals. The rest of the aisle reads corn, meat and bone meal, soybean meal, animal fat, artificial color, and a photograph of something that is not inside the bag. The regulation that permits both of those products to sit on the same shelf under the word complete has not changed in 50 years. The dog eating from the bag does not know which shelf the bag came from. You do.